What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Heat Report. Welcome back to a brand new video. We are back with a brand new video for you guys. And today's video, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, man. So make sure you guys stick around till the end of the video. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new. As of right now, as I'm recording this video, the Boston Celtics are up 2-0 against the Mavericks in the finals. A very, very sad sight to see if you're a Heat fan, but unfortunately, I don't really think it's going to change too much. I think it's inevitable that Boston is going to win the championship, which is absolutely the worst case scenario. If you asked me coming into next year, or coming into this season, at the end of last season, what is the worst case outcome for any team in the NBA? If you're a Heat fan, I would be like, it's Boston winning the championship. And that's exactly what's about to happen. So, although it's only 2-0, I just don't really see the Mavericks coming back from this. I mean, they could win a game or two, but I don't know, man. I mean, when you have a game where Boston shoots that bad from three, and when Tatum is shooting 6 for 22, and Boston even got out-rebounded and they still won the game, like that's just a sucker punch to me. Like, that's just like a big blow, and Dallas should be kicking themselves. But we're not here to talk about that too much. Maybe I'll talk about that on my second channel. Go check out the second channel in the description. But we're here to talk about what the Miami Heat have to do, because clearly seeing probably our biggest rival, maybe not geographically, but history-wise, our biggest rival has always been, over the past, the past decade and a half, it's been the Boston Celtics. It's been the Boston Celtics, and seeing them winning a championship potentially would be terrible. And as a Heat fan, as a Heat player, as somebody who is part of the Heat front office, whoever you are, if you're associated with Miami, if you're associated with the Heat, you will not want to see this happen, because they're the bad guys to every Heat fan. And last year we beat them in the finals, on the Eastern Conference Finals, and they absolutely one-upped us and lapped us by beating us in the first round. Granted, we were hurt, but they still ended up beating us, and they swept their way through the whole Eastern Conference. Basically, they only lost 2 games, and they're on the verge of winning their 18th championship, and that's just a terrible sight to see. So it's time for the Heat to start making some moves. And we should have done this, even before Boston was going on their, rampage through the East. We should have already had a conclusion of making moves and getting better in certain ways this season. This is, to me, the most important offseason since Jimmy Butler has joined the team, because this can make or break the direction of the Miami Heat. It's that important to me. When you talk about what the Miami Heat have to do, obviously the most talked about, the most, biggest storyline, I guess, that people are talking about is the Jimmy Butler extension situation. Now, where do we stand on that right now? It's currently still at a crossroads. Neither party has, really made any moves on this extension front, but you can see that with every single day, it's like some chess moves here and there. It started off with Pat Riley's presser, where he kind of called Jimmy out for not being available and talking and speaking on other teams when he wasn't playing. Then there was a question about, whether they would be wanting to give him an extension or not. And he was like, well, we're going to have to think about that. It's a lot of money, this, that. We're not in a rush to do that right now. And he even said that word. He still has a year on his contract, so we're not thinking about that right now. But then you have Jimmy's camp, who is going to want to receive an extension, ASAP. So that could obviously lead to some tension, and that's why we've seen a lot of Jimmy Butler mock trades, or a lot of other teams like Philly or LA or anybody like that interested in Jimmy, and who are willing to give Jimmy a max extension if the Heat are not willing to do so. And you have Jimmy himself, who's been, obviously trolling like he does. The other day he posted a video where he went to a Sparks game, and he was like, 22 looks good in a Lakers jersey or something like that, and obviously that got a lot of people talking as well. So he's obviously doing his best to put the pressure on the front office, and I know that the front office are going to try to play chess with him as well. So this is a very, very big game of 3D chess that's going on between the front office and between Jimmy. Now, there's no secret that Jimmy Butler wants to be a Miami Heat player for the rest of his career, and there's no secret that the Miami Heat want to have Jimmy Butler, for the rest of his career. So let's not get it twisted. It's not like they have bad blood or anything like that. I think the relationship between Jimmy and the Heat is completely fine, and same the other way around. I don't think it has anything to do with, Pat Riley's comments. I think Jimmy Butler is man enough to, handle those. I mean, they speak the same language, so I don't really think it's a big deal. It's really just about the extension, man. That's really where it boils down to. I don't think there's anything personal between Jimmy and the front office. Like, I think, if they could, both sides would, if cap space, salary cap, all that didn't exist, both sides would be very open to have Jimmy Butler retiring as a Heat and getting his jersey retired here. But unfortunately, he's, at a point in his contract where he is eligible for a max extension and he's going to want to get one from Miami. And if he's not able to get one from Miami, he's going to be really disappointed. He's going to have to get one from somebody else. So that's where we stand. And I think we've all known this, but there hasn't really been any progress. It's been a bunch of rumors and hearsay and this and that, but it hasn't really been any progress from both sides yet. I don't even think they have met, on the front of requesting an extension. So that's where we stand right now. But what I will say, regardless of what camp you're in, regardless of what side of the fence you sit on, whether you think Jimmy should receive an extension, whether you think he shouldn't, honestly, it doesn't even matter. Like, people can say, oh, we shouldn't give him an extension, and people can say we should give him an extension. I'm in the camp of, giving him the extension just because I don't think it's as big of a risk as people think it is. I know his contract is guaranteed for this year, and he has a player option at the end of the season to pick up a $15 million, option that'll guarantee him for next year. So if you were to give him this extension, what it would mean is that you have him already this year guaranteed. This is a 2-year extension, so it would lock him up for this year, the next, and the year after that. Originally his contract anyway was a guarantee for this year and a player option, which he probably would have accepted before this whole extension thing happened, for $15 million to guarantee him for next year. So he was probably going to be under contract with the Heat for 2 years anyway. So it's really just another additional year that you're adding on with the extension, and you're making all 3 guaranteed. I don't think it's a big issue. I really don't think it's a big risk. Yeah, he'll be 37 then. That'll perfectly set him up to either retire or take a minimum contract or take a very small deal or something like that, and his $60 million will come off the books, and I believe it's 2027. So yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big risk at all. I think for what he's done for this franchise, 1 more year on his current contract, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's a short-term deal. It's not like we're going to be paying him until he's 40 or something like that. He's 34. This extension is going to lock him up until he's 37. And anyway, he was probably going to be locked up until he was 36 before this whole extension talks and drama started. So again, you're only really giving him an extra year on top of what he was going to be, making here anyway. That's it. So to me, it's not really that big of a deal. But I understand if people are on the fence of not giving him the money, I understand. I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm saying that's just what I would do. But what I want the Heat to do is I want them to make a decision about this. And what that means is I want them to take action right now. Whatever they decide. If they decide to not give him the extension, that's fine. I just want them to be clear about it. I don't want the Heat to stall this whole thing, because it really scared me when Pat Riley was asked that question. He was like, oh, we don't know. We can afford to wait because he's under contract. That's going to make it a huge mess, man. The longer you drag this out, the more storylines are going to be created, the more opportunities there is for Jimmy to put more pressure on the front office, and the relationship might get worse. The more irritated he's going to get, the more pressure is going to be put on the front office. Like, it's just not good the longer you drag this out. And not only that, forgetting this whole Jimmy Butler extension thing, and if you're just leaving that alone, if you were to stall and wait and hopefully and hope that he backed out of wanting an extension this season and was okay with just being under contract and accepting a player option for next year, then not only are you going to waste time stalling, you're not going to be able to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your roster. And that's exactly what's going to happen, if you don't make a decision about this. You don't want a repeat of last year and last year's offseason to start. You don't want that to start again. You don't, because last season we were wasting our time with Dame. Portland was, playing us right in front of our eyes. They were making sure that, you know, we were never going to get Dame, and we wasted all offseason trying to acquire him, and it just didn't work out. And by the time he got traded to Milwaukee, it was already too late, and we just, you know, didn't really have anything else to pivot from, because that was our option. It was to get Dame, and we didn't have a backup plan because it was too late by then, and we ended up with a half-handed roster. It was puzzle pieces missing here and there. Like, we just didn't have a complete roster heading into this season, because we spent all offseason trying to acquire a player that we just didn't, we weren't going to get, because Portland just didn't want to trade him to us. So if we were to do the same thing this year, where we wasted all the time with Jimmy Butler, and he doesn't seem the type to, back out of whatever he wants. I mean, if he wants an extension, I don't see him, being like, you know what, I'll step out of this request. I'll take one for the team. I mean, he's a team player. I'm not saying he's not, but Jimmy Butler has that personality where, if he wants something, he's going to make sure he gets it. So again, stalling this out and waiting and stuff like that, like, I just don't like when they do that. I want the Heat to make a decision about this right now. Ideally, they should already know what they want to do. I mean, if you're a good front office, if you are a competent NBA front office, you won't take 2-3 months to figure out whether you want to extend somebody. It shouldn't take you this long. You ideally should only be taking 1 month, and it's already been a month since we had been out of the playoffs anyway. So to me, they should already have their decision on what they want to do with him. And I just want them to act fast, because if we don't extend Jimmy, then I want us to trade him. If we do extend Jimmy, I want us to extend him and move on from the situation as soon as possible. Just get it done with, so you can worry about the rest of your roster, because worrying about one player or this or that will just, and neglecting the rest of your roster. Because to me, if there's one player who should be moved, it's not Jimmy Butler, it should be Tyler Hero. But with this whole Jimmy Butler situation, I doubt if they're even going to have time to address the Hero situation if they keep stalling this out. So yeah, that's my point, man. Just get it done quickly, make a decision about it. Whatever you do, I mean, I'll have a lot more respect for them. Even if I don't agree with their decision, I'll have a lot of respect for them if they just make their decision. If they're just clear about what they want to do. I don't want them to be unclear and dilly-dally and stuff like that for whatever purpose. I just don't want them to do that. I want them to be crystal clear on what they want to do with Jimmy. And I want to move on from the situation so we can talk about the draft. We can talk about the rest of the roster. And yeah, that's that. So listen, that is the crux of what I want them to do, and if Jimmy Butler is not going to be extended by the Heat, if they decide that we don't want to extend him, which is fine. Not that I agree with that, but I'll have a lot of respect for them if they make that decision quickly, because then, they'll have time to assess the rest of their roster. Then he should be traded. Then you have to trade him. And I know people probably won't think that that's the only option. People will be like, oh, why don't we just let him play out his contract? The reason is, if you let Jimmy Butler play out his contract when he doesn't receive an extension that he wants, you risk to lose him in free agency for nothing, because he has a player option. He can decline the player option even though it's $50 million. He can decline the player option because even though he will get $50 million for 1 year. He will get $50 million for 1 year if he accepts the player option. If he doesn't get the extension, the smart thing for him to do would be to decline a player option and get an extension from another team who's willing to give him a longer term deal than just 1 year. 1 year guaranteed versus 3 years guaranteed. At his age, I would take the 3 years. Even though the money might be a little bigger for the 1 year deal, he's still going to be making a lot of money with the 3 year extension that he gets from whatever team. So we could risk losing him for nothing if you were to just not give him the extension and have him play out his contract. I know they don't want to trade Jimmy Butler, but if they don't give him the extension, they have to trade him, in my opinion. And I don't think they should wait till the deadline to trade him either, because then his value might get even lower. Right now, he's regarded as a top 15 player. What if this season he has an injury, or what if this season he doesn't play well, or what if this season he's regressing and you want to trade him at the deadline because you don't want to lose him out for nothing, and his value gets even lower than what it is right now? Like, just think about it. You want to sell high on your assets if you're going to trade them. I'm not even in the camp of trading Jimmy, but if you're going to trade him, this is the time. This is the time to trade him if you want to trade him. If you don't want to extend him, now is the time to move on from him. You don't wait until the deadline where his value might decrease. And even if we do that, even if we wait till the deadline, and if you're not extending Jimmy Butler, then obviously you're going to be in the position where you want to go into a retool around Bam Adebayo and potentially around Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. So you want draft capital. You want some pieces that can help you long term. So if you don't trade Jimmy, then you probably ruin your chances of getting a higher pick if you wait till the deadline. You waste time with the roster because the roster still won't have a clear direction. There'll still be this hanging cloud over the Heat's head every game talking about, when Jimmy will receive the extension or if Jimmy will receive the extension. It's a dangerous game to play. So the point is they need to make a decision fast. Whatever it is, I don't really I'm not saying I don't care, but I don't really have a strong disdain for either side. Obviously I'm in the camp of extending him, but if they don't extend him, I won't be shocked. I just think that they have to make the decision as fast as possible because whatever they do will affect the whole team, in turn. Because if they extend Jimmy, then we can move on to try to acquiring a star to pair alongside Jimmy and Bam for one last push of this window. If they don't extend Jimmy, then we trade him. We get some younger pieces. We get younger. We get, some more draft capital because we don't really have too many picks right now. And we go into a Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic-led rebuild or retool. And then you will set yourself up for a direction. So when I say the Miami Heat have to pick a direction, all of this, talking about direction and where they go from here, the fate of that lies at the hands of what they do with Jimmy Butler. Do they give him the extension? Do they not give him the extension? That is up to you guys. That is up to them. Whatever they do, I feel like they have to do it quickly so we can move on to whatever our next targets are, whatever, the next goals for this roster is, all that stuff. So get this done as soon as possible, Miami. Please do not stall this out and do not waste the whole offseason, trying to figure out one thing. And just get it done. Whatever it is, just get it done so we can move on to the next, problem that we have to solve in this offseason because there's a lot of issues with this roster, not just Jimmy Butler's extension, but there's a lot of things that we have to fix. And, once we get the Jimmy Butler thing out of the way, we can worry about the rest of the team and we can worry about where we go from there. So that is my 2 cents about the whole Jimmy Butler situation. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comment section below. Again, whatever side you guys are on, that's fine. I understand both sides. I just think they have to make a decision quickly, whatever the side they pick. But yeah, man, we're going to wrap it up here. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, comment down below. And I'll see y'all later as always, man. Have a nice day. Peace.